Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, directed by Edgar Wright, released in 2010, is a seamless blend of Wright's distinct visual editorial stylization combined with typical comic book graphical tropes, paying homage to the source material, a series of 6 comic books by Brian Lee O'Malley. Compared to other movies which have attempted to blend comic books into cinema before this, Wright just seems to get it, well, right. He properly integrates the comic book look into the world of the movie, so that it doesn't take the audience away from what they're watching, or make them feel like they're being told a story, but instead they feel, as they should, like they're watching a movie, where this stylization is simply just the way of the world which we're watching. A prime example of this is the pee bar scene, which is directly ripped from the comic. As Scott goes to relieve himself, we see a pee bar showing how much he needs to pee, and of course as he pees the bar goes down, but notice how the pee bar stays stagnant in the scene. It goes out of focus as Scott enters the room, and is even reflected in the mirror above the sink, really cementing in our heads that this is a real thing that is actually there in the world. Going back and comparing how this cinematic adaptation of comic book stylizing holds up against other attempts at the same thing, if we take The Hulk from 2003 as an example, in this they quite creatively use these unique comic book themed transitions and stop frames on several occasions to give a nice little comic book style to the film. Except the way they do it in this film does unfortunately well to take us out of the film and disconnect us from what we're watching. Completely removes the illusion of chronology and reality in the movie, although you can argue what Wright does is more absurd, it is objectively more realistic, and does better to keep the audience grounded in the world. Nothing is without flaw, however, and nothing is for everyone. Although there is objective value in Wright's skill and what he's done with this film, I've heard it said that it's a hard film to follow, and given its consistent and almost relentless pacing, I can understand this perspective. On the same note, I've been told the film feels like Wright must have been on something when he made it, also something I can understand. As well as this, Scott isn't necessarily the most relatable character, and the way the other characters seem to revolve around him, especially the love interests, isn't something that can go easily unquestioned. All in all, Scott Pilgrim is my favourite film of all time. I think I could watch it any day of the week and enjoy myself. Edgar Wright is a master at his art, and I lavish over his work whenever I get to see it or its influence.